Hi YouTube, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm listening to Professor Sam Vaknin about personality disorders in couples, which I had wondered about seeing, people like the people that raised me, both being very narcissistic or one being more like borderline and both having all psychotic tendencies. They're psychopaths, People do certain things, but how they get along and why they would get along, that type of thing. Um, Different people that I've known, myself included, uh, I'm not including that I have a mental disorder unless like they want to push that somebody with a neurological disease would have. That would be a mental disorder. No, it's a physical thing, but and that'll be proved out too. I believe that most things like Parkinson's, um, muscular dystrophy, um, different things are actually stem from some kind of physical trauma, you know, including dyslexia, including schizophrenia. I'm more in tune with what the psychological aspects and physical, like even what you eat, aspect of ourselves and our human nature and the people that raised us and their abilities or disabilities like that. That's the side I'm coming from and looking at closer, in closer relation to mental handicaps. So, but it's super interesting and something he's going into right a little bit ago he started. It's a compilation of different things that he's put together of his work concerning these subjects, but we don't even have to ask ourselves when a pharmaceutical company benefits from naming something a disorder or misnaming or representing something in the human condition, when they benefit from mislabeling it something, the disservice that's happening to the people with their health care. Speaking of health care, well, health care, I had to call my state and get termination papers for medical insurance I no longer want to get from them because, like, to the tune of a couple $100, or seniors in the United States can get just basic medical coverage for $30 a month, and I don't even go to the doctor. I don't get any pills or anything. I mean, I know the issues I have in my life and I take care of myself like that. So, yeah, it was a trip though. The first, I had to call them back because they sent me a form that wasn't going to work for me. And the first guy, he was just, I told him thank you. He didn't say anything. So I told him thank you again and something under my breath before I hung up. And then the lady I talked to was really nice. She's like, sure, have a good day. And I'm like, well, humanity, you know. Anyway, so I'll be with you in a second. We might have some noise just like yesterday. 007 commented that he couldn't hear it. It wasn't too disruptive or anything. So, you know, that's good. I'll just keep going then if that's the case. But if we have some noise. Gee, I was thinking of, oh yeah, and I was talking about that lady named Affy that was on Jason or Archaics yesterday, and 007 couldn't. watch it, but Mike today, I don't know if he did get a chance to hear that, but it is true that we do owe a debt to um, not even scholars, but just Islamic people, some of the Abrahamic peoples that kept text from the Greek. They didn't translate it, they just kept it um, for people in the world, and that they are the people we are indebted to for keeping these documents safe up until this day. So, just in case people don't know that, that was brought to attention yesterday by Jason and the lady he was talking to. And it is a really big deal because there are other places in the world that they had these texts, not necessarily to change what they were, but to preserve them for you or I. And like I say, not even being scholars, not even being linguists or philologists of any sort, any kind of archaeology or anything, just the mere fact that they kept books and libraries intact without even translating them. That's really cool. So we can um, credit a lot of the texts that we have in the ancient Greek to um, Arabian type peoples that had preserved those Assyria, that type preserving. Like I had told people long ago that there's reasons why villages in Syria were being taken out. There's little areas, pockets of people here and there that have true isms from ancient stories of our history that the Dark Cabal doesn't want us to know. They don't want us to piece it together at all because that's where they gain their control from having knowledge of um, prior civilizations to what we have now. They don't want you to know that things were actually destroyed over and over again because they choose power over people. You know, the power to them keeping control of this system and being a part of that in their minds is more important than the people they say they govern. That type of attitude is what that reset is all about. They get built up, they use the people, they build it up on the backs of the people, and it falls because they're greedy. I was and it's not happenstance or coincidence. I had shared a article from the Minneapolis Star and Tribune. It's called a newspaper. I used to actually work for them, but just a minute, I'm going to get the date that this article was shared. Something that I um have been interested in for a very long time. Let's see, I gotta click on it. It's put out by well, the DNR in my state have what they have control over the watershed and the cleanliness of the wastewater from mining in my state. And so I'll tell you about that in a minute here. I'm trying to click on it, but it isn't actually letting me. Okay, open up. So I'm reading this article this morning. Then I get over to Archaics. He's doing a live stream, and his guest, Paul Cook, is showing ancient waterways and waterworks from it look like metal algae, like some place where they would maybe make swords or whatever, that type of thing. So then that wasn't all. I just see hurting humanity put out another waste spill in probably close to East Palestine, where they had the last one. And this article I was reading this morning was published September 21st, 2024. Company seeks to expand massive lake of mine wastewater near North Shore. So I was reading all that and how they actually put a kibosh on a lot of the mining and the ore that was going out from the lake in the 1960s. It was in the last 20 years somebody else had bought that. And they keep building up the walls with bigger rocks and silt that comes from this mining operation that they have. And the lake keeps getting bigger and bigger and deeper. And they're wondering, and our DNR does say that there's a clincher to this. It's not funny, but it's oddly funny. But they say, okay, so it's safe unless something were to happen to the dam for the lakes up above Lake Superior. And it used to be in the 60s they were pumping mining ore and using magnets to separate the taconite from the ore, so the waste, and there's water and magnets used in that process. They were pouring 167 tons of waste into this bay of Lake Superior called Silver Bay. I think it's silver because of all the mining activities, but I had seen it, of course, well, not of course, but I had seen it many times in the 70s, the 60s and 70s. But the same with Lake Erie. That was a dead lake. I had seen it 1969. I saw dead fish along the shores because of all the pollution. It's a very shallow lake, one of the Great Lakes. I went around all of them that summer and up into Canada and back around. But we had to go through the Sault Ste. Marie Canal. It's locks and dams and lifts, and it go across another one on a great big ship that was on Lake Huron, or yeah, I think it was on Huron. And then, so anyway, my point is, even back in the 60s and 70s, that very shallow one, Erie, was so polluted they had to, well, they re-trafficked a lot of the shipping. They had made another canal or something, reopened it up, like I think, 1977 or something like that. So it's been quite a while. But just saying how precious our waters are. And did you know that the Kraft Corporation is in control with the Nestle Corporation, and they actually sell water out of the Great Lakes, Michigan, from what I understand, to China. I thought they were our enemies. Why aren't we sending them this wastewater instead? I wouldn't want them to, but I mean, what are they doing to us? Who knows, right? With the products that are allowed to be sold in our country. So, you know, and that's all orchestrated anyway. But the DNR and FEMA work really closely. I found out a guy who overlooks this wastewater up by the North Shore actually lives not too far from me, and he heads up the whole thing up there for FEMA. That flipped me out. Well, I know the DNR and FEMA are gonna work hand in hand closely together, but just to know that somebody's actually like a neighbor, you know, not a good neighbor and not State Farm. Yeah, boy, that insurance dude for the state was super pissed just knowing I'm gonna terminate, you know. So anyway, it was funny. Oh, there might be a penalty if you try and re-enroll. And I cut him off. I said, I want the papers, thank you. I said, I had spoke with an agent before and told him that I really didn't need anything unless I have like a broken bone or, something like that, an emergency type situation. Otherwise, I don't listen to medical advice very much. I pretty much have survived on my own unless it was a situation where I couldn't. But I've even operated on myself more than once, so I don't really listen to a lot of people. I wouldn't be here if I did. The things they wanted to do to me, yeah, or had done. Like, I woke up in 2 different operations without enough, uh, oh, yeah, yeah. Can't even remember when they put you under, Yeah, so, and that's not even a joke. If you talk about being wide awake and experiencing pain in operations or other things they've done to me while I was wide awake and probably shouldn't have been, wow. I have been through some really trippy things. I'm not just saying that. But I don't feel like see, that's another thing I was going to talk about. There's 2 different attitudes that people do carry on this planet. Although I have been a victim, I don't feel like anybody's victim, and I don't feel like they got away with anything. You know, I have seen people that do things to me. A lot of people want to call it karma. I call it our creator that looks over his children that are obedient to him. you know, that's a fact. We get these little special things in life that other people don't get, and that seems to piss people off too. It's like, well, if you're not actually doing what God tells you to do, then, don't get mad at me because you're not doing your job, you know. So when something doesn't go right in your life like that, it's not a big surprise, you know. Like I say, the only thing bad in my life that can happen, somebody actually physically has to do something to me, you know. That's the only way they can. Not that they haven't tried, but, you know, that's to be expected from um, the children of disobedience that are controlled by a lesser mind. Yeah. So, no, I don't feel like a victim. I feel in attack mode, but I'm not the one that's going to be doing the attacking. That's all. But it's in there. It sure is. I'm not hiding or playing, you know. So, anyway, there's nothing about my personality that I want to hide. And there's absolutely nothing about my personality that is abnormal. I see the ones that are covering up their harsh feelings when they have them as abnormal. You know, I see the people that commit themselves to each other in marriages or whatever that never went into that situation intending it to actually flourish, you know. So, no, I don't feel like a victim. I feel just as strong as I always have in that way, you know. Oh, speaking about strong, though, it's hard because um, I can't go to bed at night when I want to because Doug's hours are different. And then the barking dogs for going on. Well, it's over 3 weeks now. I've slept with the fan on. I turn it off when I get up because I can't have my windows open. Or if I do, the fan does help. Two barking dogs, one little one and one big one. And I saw where Robin's Hood had a couple videos talking about the barking dogs. And I thought, okay, I'm going to click on it, and I know I'm going to hear this same type of thing. And sure enough, it's like, well, I really can't watch your video because I hear it enough on my own every day. So, yeah, I'm a little sleep deprived a lot in my life, but that goes with the territory when you really are that warrior, you know. So, yeah. When will it end? Probably never, but life is an adventure, right? And they don't get away with it, you know. You do reap what you sow, you know. So, just here's my question for people. There's a lot of people, oh, we're all connected, and is that right? And then they'll treat you like you're not human, but an object or something to be, yeah, objectified. Um, it's not nothing spiritual about that, you know, nothing. There's no connection on a human level. It's just an object you use in this world to obtain what you need for yourself. It has no immediate human connection there whatsoever. None. But people say, oh, we're all connected. I think there's two different sets of people, and they are connected in different ways. But I don't think everybody's all connected like that. I do believe there is a separation of the wheat and the tares, and it's going on right now. It's going on in me. I'm judgmental. You damn right I am for myself and my offsprings and anybody else. If you say you love me, I'm going to act on your behalf because we've all been conditioned. Oh, don't look and say, and don't, you know, I'm not going to do nothing to you, but if you're looking at a kid wrong or something, your soul needs to be jacked out of your skin. And I'm definitely going to be judgmental. Back to that minorly attracted person type of attitude. Because I've ran across these narcissists. Nothing is off bounds when they want to satisfy their needs, not even their own children, you know, uh, or anybody else's. So everything always has to be sexual in a freak's mind. Nothing can be spiritual or intellectual. It's always got to go down between your legs every fucking time with people. It's like I wasn't even like that when I was a child, you know. So I just don't get it. I'm not saying my sexual drive hasn't been there. I'm just saying it has never been misplaced, you know? It's something precious that we have to exhibit in the proper manner, or it's really not anything, you know? And if you're going to be like sleeping with another human being and it's no more than getting your rocks off, well, you actually just sold a piece of yourself, It's like you're not worth anything like that. Your soul, your spirit, your sexuality. If anybody can have it, it's too cheap for a relationship, you know? So, anyway. Yeah, just speaking my mind. So, yeah. So, I think that's probably about it. I probably touched on about every subject going through my mind so far today, aside from getting down to the bottom of the scriptures and language and migration and the different things in the world that people, that's how we're connected with these stories and these languages and why it wasn't God that did it. This was mankind um, keeping an advanced language, keeping an advanced civilization while the world had like volcanoes and whatever. And then when these advanced people would come around and share knowledge and languages and that type of thing, and then they'd move elsewhere and the two languages would be combined, their customs and their traditions or whatever, their I'm trying to think like belief system, that type of thing. They had a tendency to combine instead of actually separate. There's roots that go back in languages that can prove the authenticity, the beginning of one and how other ones came out of that. And there's people that want to push the um, Hebrew scholar stuff. Hey, go for it. It's just that the more of us that have more ancient texts that we could prove how those languages came out of that ancientness. So it's just going to make these people who say they are scholars, they say they care about other people, but they're really only wanting to make money. There's no other reason, because if they truly were a part of the truth community, they would be doing everything within their power. Like if you're studying ancient Greek like I am, they would do everything within their power to be able to prove what the actual word is, instead of um like when somebody's motto on their channel is morals over dogma. Well, let's see it, as he always likes to say. I'm ready. Let's see your morals over dogma. If I can learn ancient Greek at 66 and you're still what, um 30, 40, 50, whatever. Some people it's hard to tell, whatever. But if I can learn something at my age, you truly can at yours. I went back to college at 34. A lot of people don't do that, you know? So I went to school with a 70-year-old. That was pretty cool. Yeah. Oh, well, I'm gonna get this uploaded. I just really wanted to make this very clear. If somebody's actually truly intent on the truth, if you can't do your scholarly duties, you can't tell me something is older because there's proof that, say, like, parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls are fictitious, if not all of them. So, ace the Nag Hammadi library out of the whole situation. But people don't want to hear that whole, how could that be fake? Because they found them in 1945 and they carbon dated them. They could say, well, that's, off. It's not that off, you know. It never has been. It's one of the closest technologies to get to the truth, you know. It's just like, okay, I shared a video in my community too the other day. Did anybody go and look? It was by John Levy. It was about ancient civilizations and actual uh, imaging of a skeletal remains that is female inside the figure of a Buddha. Is that compelling to anybody at all? I've thought a lot of these statues that we see might have actual human remains in them for one reason or another, you know? So, and it's just, I'm going to touch on one more thing, like that golden cow that they weren't just worshiping a golden calf, they were putting people in a golden cow that was lined with metal, and they would start a fire underneath it, and they could hear, and smoke would come out of its nostrils, and they could hear the person screaming as they were cooked alive inside that. Do you know what religion that was? Bet you can guess. Who did Moses bring the tablets down to? You know? So that's just a little bit of Abrahamic religion for everybody. So have a really good night or day wherever you're at. Thank you for joining me. Peace and love from Pine City, Minnesota, USA.